Okay, this will be the second and final video I'm making today, and the weather's gotten quite humid today. Over the course of the last several hours, my hair has become quite poodle-esque, thus the headband. Not that I need to explain myself, I should be able to wear whatever the hell I want in my own house, or in public for that matter, too. As long as it's not disgusting or terribly offensive, I guess. Boy, I saw some really disgusting things downtown the other day, which I will care not to mention, but anyhow, I got the mental association. So, in this video, I want to talk a little bit about, well, I'll talk about why I got these dragons on the table, and I guess we'll get to everything from using the dragons. So, they're on the table because they were props, or not props, they were going to be gifts that I was going to give away at this event several days ago. And I just didn't have ample opportunity. The energy wasn't right to have this be quite the party and quite the spark of saving the world that I thought it might be able to be. Most of them happen like that. Most things that you get your hopes up for, you get let down. So anyhow, this was no exception. It wasn't a terrible event. I got 12 people in the door. I was hoping to get 30 to 40, and I was hoping to really energize the room. So what did I do to attempt to energize the room? I had a boombox with some nice music, I had a diffuser with essential oils, I had a fan, and then what I did is I brought a bunch of stuff, props and things, such that we could play some games. So the first game that we started out with was just throwing crap around and speaking gibberish. So I'd throw something to somebody, and then I'd throw it to them, and they'd have to make gibberish, and so we got 3 going on at the same time. Just a little game I made up, kind of on the spot. And so that was intended to loosen people up a little bit. And they didn't get really into it. It was kind of a lame-ass crowd for the most part. Sorry to say, but that's just the way it was. I did what I could to try to do other things. The second thing we did was I played a game where I had people make the ugliest sound they could. So we had an ugliest sound competition. So I had one volunteer to come up to the front of the room, and he was the judge. And the winner got a packet of incense. And that was the only gift that I gave away, which is why I still have these dragons, and I have a bunch of other things that I was going to give away too. I was originally intending to give away these bubbles, which I got at the grocery store the other day, and I was going to give these, there's a 6-pack here, and I was going to give the first 6 people in the door a pack of bubbles just as a thank you for showing up early or on time kind of thing. I also had these baby forks, which I was ready to part with after having them for a number of years and not using them. I actually have another baby fork, which I use sometimes. I actually just like the way they feel in my hand, and I don't know, I think baby forks are actually pretty cool. So we could start a baby fork trend. I thought it'd be a funny idea. I actually have a full set in my car, which I keep forgetting is there because I want to take it into a restaurant and tell the waiter, no thank you, I've got my own silverware, please take this off the table, and then put the baby forks there. And anyhow, it's one of my brilliant ideas which just hasn't quite taken off yet. It's just I keep forgetting to do it. I have to make a mental note, or I have to put the silverware on the seat of the car such that I always know it's there, and maybe that'll happen tomorrow. We'll see. And then I have this hat which I got a number of years ago from Tractor Supply, and I thought it was kind of cool. I thought a chick might like it, but that and a couple of other articles of clothing which I was intending to give away didn't get given away, and that's why they're still with me, and I still got my dragons. So I really liked the hood ornament, which was one of these dragons I had a number of years ago. He would flop violently in the wind until some idiot decided to smack it real hard and pretty much knocked it off the car. So that's my props for this video, and these dragons will stay with me on the table for the duration because I like to have something to fidget with. But we've got a real problem with a number of things, because saving the world is not a difficult thing to do. Once you get it up here, once you're right in the head about this, you realize it's not a difficult thing to do. In terms of what actually has to happen, it's quite simple. In terms of actually getting people out of their trance, that is perhaps the most difficult thing in the world. And that's why I'm not really concerned with doing that. I'm not really concerned with getting people out of the trance. I'm not concerned with saying to people, wake up or wake the fuck up. I'm interested in finding people that are already ready to get involved. The point of the event was not to give people all the information that they would need completely to get it, but to give them maybe that little bit that they were missing and to give them an inspiration for why it makes sense to take action. So I was giving them a little bit of context. I was talking about 2,000 years ago and the salvation attempt back then, and how we are in better position to save the world now, and that has a lot to do with this device that I'm making this video on. We have cell phones, we have communication technology. The decision to save the world was not to do it until we had the technology which made worldwide communication instantaneous and ubiquitous, so we could cover the entire world, that we could get the message out to the entire world instantaneously. And that's why it's happening now. Obviously, we've had a lot of death and destruction and complete chaos, World War II being the most obvious example, since 2,000 years ago. The suffering has been unmentionable. It's impossible to quantify. So we've paid a heavy, heavy price from getting to the place where we are at now, where we have this communication technology, yet we're not really using it responsibly. Obviously, we have the internet too, which is a part of it. And we have social media, things like Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and YouTube, which theoretically should be tools of salvation as well, but for the most part, they're being misused. If you look at the number of people that watch certain shitty videos versus things that actually are important, the numbers are so skewed, it's something like 1,000 or 10,000 to 1. It's not even close. So obviously we don't want to be targeting the masses. We don't want to be targeting the bulk of the population. What we want to be doing is finding the people that are ready, that are interested, and that are able to make a commitment. Now, if something comes up, and like a family emergency, if it's emergency, that's one thing. But if it's just an ordinary kind of thing that comes up, or, oh, I got a tummy ache, or I decided I wanted to go for a bike ride today, that's the kind of thing that's going to stop you. Make no mistake, you're not ready, you're not committed. But we need people who are committed. We need people that are going to say, you know what, I feel like shit right now, but I've made a commitment to these other people, and this is the most important thing. Because if I care about myself, and if I care about my family and my friends and my neighborhood and the rest of the world, if I care about our future and our pets and the animals, of course, too, then we got to spring into action. And we can't let excuses stop us. We can't let, oh, well, this show was in town, it just happened to be the same date, it's got this real great opportunity, man. No, you're not committed. You're not committed if you let an excuse come up every time you're supposed to take action. Now, I'm doing my best, and I'm not going to ever attempt to try this in one video, to explain the full picture. That's what I wrote a book for. The whole point of making a video is to give you just a little bit, and to relate, to have an experience of relating with one another. That's the purpose of it, just to give you a little bit. Because I'm not always on, I don't always have the ideas ready. Not always. Sometimes I just want to feed the birds. Sometimes I just want to play my guitar. Sometimes I want to get out of all this mental shit. All these ideas about saving the world. Sometimes that's all I want to do. In fact, that's what I'd like to do most of the time. I don't want to be talking about these ideas most of the time. But obviously we have to. Obviously I have to do my best to communicate. I have to do my best to teach. Now the teaching itself is not difficult. It's not complicated. It's actually very, very simple. And that's why I was able to put pretty much the entire teaching in a book. The difficulty is the delusions that individuals hold and how to get through that armor. Now again, I want to make it very clear that I'm not looking to get through the armor of people that are heavily conditioned, because that is impossible. I'm looking just for those people that are pretty much almost there, and I can give that little boost, whatever that is, just that little spark, such that they can actually say, okay, I got it, and I will take action. And I'll commit to taking action. I'll commit to my brothers and sisters. So, this event having been somewhat of a flop a number of days ago, there was really nothing I could do. I mean, what do you do with someone who's sitting in a chair like, I tried games, I tried humor, I tried a number of things, I tried discussing, I tried getting them involved in the discussion as best I could. But nothing could do it. I understand how heavy this shit gets. I understand how oppressive this world is. Because I've had to experience that oppression very, very deeply myself. But nevertheless, I still remain willing to dance. I still remain willing to participate and to give my all when I do participate. So I don't see any excuses like, well, I got this thing going. Fuck you. You don't got a valid reason. I have a valid reason, if anybody, in terms of how much pain I've experienced, in terms of how much emotional pain I've experienced going through this. I should have better reason than anybody. Yet, I am still out there doing everything I can to try to get the salvation train in motion. And I see the problem not as being something like we're run by a bunch of freaking crazy maniacs or something like that. That may be true, but that's not really the problem. Because when I have this kind of event, when I have interactions with people in general, I see the problem standing right in front of me. And the problem's not here anymore. There comes a time after a number of years where you lose your conditioning, where you do become real and authentic. You're not the problem anymore. And if you're not the problem, I'll tell you that you're not the problem. If you are the problem, I'll tell you that you're the problem. I don't care. I got to do that. I can't bullshit anymore. When it comes to my son's future, when it comes to the future of us all, I don't want to be in a position where I ever have to bullshit people again. The problem is not an abstraction. We can talk about it as being an abstraction, but in terms of being a practical thing that we can deal with, it must be tangible. It must be the here and now. It must be something we can actually focus on and transform. If we put it into something abstract, off-planet or interdimensional or anything like that, we're never going to get there, because we've already said the problem is out of our hands, and therefore the solution must be out of our hands too. But if the problem is the normal state of consciousness of a human being, the normal so-called everyday state of consciousness of a human being, then we can deal with that directly. Understanding again, and this pyramid is very important, I talk about this in the book, how we got to form that top of the pyramid, that top piece of the pyramid, and that means the most awake people coming together. I'm having a hell of a time just finding even a few people, but thankfully I have found one. And I decided the next best course of action is for her and I just to start, because at the very least I have to walk my talk, and we'll try to expand the circle from there. And that's where I'm at right now. And then perhaps if I do an event like this again, I'm going to have to come in there and be a motherfucking boss. I'm going to have to tell people directly, when I see them sitting in a chair like this, perk the fuck up, a-hole. Or perk the fuck up or get out. Because we need to build some synergy here. And I can't deal with that shit anymore. I'm not going to deal with a bunch of people that are really oppressive in terms of how heavy they're making the room feel. I'll give you the chance to express yourself if something heavy is going on. But for the most part, what I want to do is get directly involved in that relatedness. And that's what the whole idea behind the solution is. Because if you have that heaviness, I get it. But what you need to do is to start by being honest. In an event like I had the other day, it just wasn't the time and the place for that. We had to get through a couple of hours of material in order to get there, but we didn't. Half the people left before I was even done. But I was listening to Max Egan earlier today, and he said we got to do this by the end of this year. And if you're seeing this correctly, if you're looking at what's happening with the 5G, and if you're aware of the fact that 120 million people were murdered under communism, and that dark power is still in control in this world today, if you really get that, then you understand that there is no time for delays. I'm doing everything I can on my end. I'm doing everything I can think of. But even just getting through, just finding a few awake people, and then getting them to take action, wow, what a fucking hurdle this is. Like pushing a giant boulder up a hill. It's just seemingly impossible. And admittedly, I've given up a whole hell of a lot of times. I say this just cannot work. This is too difficult. But I can't stop trying because it's my purpose. And I have a son, I have people I love and care about, and I have to fight for their future. So, I always got to think about what the next move is. And so I decided that aside from doing the book, locally I'm just going to start with this one other person who is on board, and we're going to start from there and see if we can build a circle. And that's all I'm going to do in this video.